Ancient Egypt was a civilization in northeastern Africa. It was located along the Nile River Valley. The Nile River was the lifeline of ancient Egypt. It provided fertile land for farming. The ancient Egyptians called their land Kemet, which means black land. This referred to the fertile black soil. The civilization lasted for over 3,000 years. Ancient Egypt was a land of deserts, rivers, and fertile plains. The Nile River flooded every year. This flood brought rich silt that made the land fertile. The ancient Egyptians used this land to grow crops like wheat, barley, and flax. They also raised animals like cattle, sheep, and goats. Ancient Egypt was surrounded by deserts. These deserts provided natural protection from invaders. They also provided resources like gold, copper, and stone. The ancient Egyptians used these resources to build their cities, temples, and pyramids. The ancient Egyptians were skilled engineers and architects. They developed a system of irrigation to water their crops. They also built canals and dams to control the flow of the Nile River. These advancements allowed them to create a prosperous civilization. Ancient Egyptian history is divided into periods called dynasties. A dynasty is a series of rulers from the same family. There were over 30 dynasties in ancient Egypt. Each dynasty had its own achievements and challenges. The early dynastic period, around 3100 to 2686 BCE, saw the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt. This unification marked the beginning of the Old Kingdom. During this time, the Egyptians developed a system of writing called hieroglyphics. The Old Kingdom from approximately 2686 to 2181 BCE was a time of peace and prosperity. It was during this time that the pyramids of Giza were built. These pyramids are some of the most impressive structures ever built. They served as tombs for the pharaohs. The Middle Kingdom, from around 2055 to 1650 BCE, was a time of renewed power and stability. The pharaohs of this period expanded Egyptian territory. They also developed new technologies such as bronze working. The New Kingdom, roughly 1550 to 1069 BCE, was the most powerful and prosperous period in ancient Egyptian history. During this time, the Egyptians conquered vast territories. They also built magnificent temples and monuments. The pharaoh was the ruler of ancient Egypt. He was considered to be a living god. The pharaoh had absolute power. He was responsible for maintaining order and justice. He was also responsible for leading the army in battle. One of the most famous pharaohs was Tutankhamun. Tutankhamun became pharaoh when he was just a boy. He ruled for about 10 years before he died mysteriously. His tomb was discovered in 1922 by Howard Carter. The tomb was filled with treasures, including Tutankhamun's golden death mask. Another famous pharaoh was Ramses II. Ramses II ruled for over 60 years. He was a great builder and warrior. He is known for his many temples and monuments, including Abu Simbel. Ramses II is also believed to be the pharaoh during the time of Moses. Cleopatra VII was the last pharaoh of ancient Egypt. She was a skilled diplomat and politician. She formed alliances with powerful Roman leaders. Cleopatra is known for her beauty and intelligence. Her reign ended with the Roman conquest of Egypt in 30 BCE. The pyramids are some of the most iconic structures in the world. They were built as tombs for the pharaohs. The ancient Egyptians believed that when a pharaoh died, his spirit would travel to the afterlife. They built pyramids to protect the pharaoh's body and possessions. The most famous pyramids are the pyramids of Giza. These pyramids were built by the pharaohs Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure. The Great Pyramid of Giza, built by Khufu, is the oldest and largest of the three. It is also the only remaining wonder of the ancient world. The pyramids were built with millions of blocks of stone. These blocks were quarried and transported using simple tools and techniques. The construction of the pyramids was a massive undertaking. It required the labor of thousands of workers over many years. Inside the pyramids there were chambers and passageways. These chambers were decorated with hieroglyphics and scenes from the afterlife. The pharaoh's body was placed in a sarcophagus, a stone coffin. Treasures and offerings were buried with the pharaoh to help him in the afterlife. Section 5. Ancient Egyptian religion. Religion was an important part of life in ancient Egypt. The ancient Egyptians were polytheistic, which means they believed in many gods and goddesses. Each god and goddess had their own personality and responsibilities. One of the most important gods was Ra, the sun god. Ra was considered to be the creator of the world. He was often depicted as a man with the head of a falcon. Another important god was Osiris, the god of the underworld. He was responsible for judging the dead. The ancient Egyptians believed in life after death. They believed that when a person died, their heart would be weighed against a feather. If the heart was pure, the person would be allowed to enter the afterlife. If the heart was heavy with sin, it would be devoured by a monster called Amit. The ancient Egyptians performed many rituals and ceremonies to honor their gods. They also built temples and shrines throughout the land. These temples were seen as the homes of the gods. Priests and priestesses performed daily rituals and offerings to appease the gods. Section 6. Life in Ancient Egypt. Life in ancient Egypt was diverse and structured. Society was hierarchical, with the pharaoh at the top. Below the pharaoh were nobles, priests, scribes, merchants, artisans, and farmers. Each group had its own role in society. Most Egyptians were farmers. They lived in villages along the Nile River. They grew crops like wheat, barley, and flax. They also raised animals like cattle, sheep, and goats. Farmers paid taxes to the pharaoh in the form of grain and other goods. Scribes were responsible for writing. They recorded important information such as laws, taxes, and religious texts. They used hieroglyphics, a system of writing that used pictures and symbols to represent words and sounds. Artisans were skilled craftsmen. They made pottery, jewelry, furniture, and other goods. They also worked on the construction of temples and pyramids. Egyptian artisans were known for their craftsmanship and artistry. Section 7. Uncovering the past. Archaeology has played a crucial role in uncovering the mysteries of ancient Egypt. Archaeologists study the physical remains of past cultures. They excavate ancient sites, analyze artifacts, and decipher inscriptions. One of the most important archaeological discoveries was the tomb of Tutankhamun. This tomb was discovered in 1922 by Howard Carter. It contained a wealth of treasures, including Tutankhamun's golden death mask. The discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb provided valuable insights into ancient Egyptian burial practices and beliefs. Another important discovery was the Rosetta Stone. This stone was discovered in 1799 by French soldiers. It contained the same text written in 3 different scripts: hieroglyphics, Demotic script, and ancient Greek. The Rosetta Stone provided the key to deciphering hieroglyphics, unlocking the secrets of ancient Egyptian writing. Archaeologists continue to make new discoveries in Egypt. These discoveries help us to better understand this ancient civilization. They also provide valuable insights into human history and culture. Section 8. Legacy of the Pharaohs. Ancient Egypt left behind a rich legacy that continues to fascinate and inspire us today. Their achievements in art, architecture, engineering, and medicine were remarkable. Ancient Egyptian art is characterized by its grandeur and symbolism. Their temples and tombs were decorated with intricate carvings, paintings, and statues. These works of art provide insights into ancient Egyptian beliefs, values, and daily life. The ancient Egyptians were skilled engineers and architects. They developed sophisticated techniques for building massive structures, such as the pyramids and temples. They also developed a system of mathematics and astronomy. These advancements allowed them to create a complex and prosperous civilization. Ancient Egyptian medicine was advanced for its time. They developed a system of medicine that included surgery, setting of bones, and herbal remedies. They also had a good understanding of anatomy and physiology. The legacy of ancient Egypt lives on in our language, art, architecture, and culture. Their ideas and innovations continue to influence us today.